It's always good to remind yourself that you don't want to be a victim. You don't need to be a victim. You have a right to your own freedom in life, and you have the absolute right to choose to live the kind of life that you want to. Unfortunately, this is the whole basis of this tape. Most people do not make that kind of choice. Most people in our culture allow themselves, in one way or another, to be victimized by people within institutions, family, organizations, jobs, and even strangers, clerks, and bureaucrats. They say things to themselves almost from a resigned point of view. It's just the way it is. We live in a society that victimizes each other. We have to play the game with, there's nothing we can do about it. It's just something that happens, and it happens to all of us. And I'm here to tell you that it doesn't have to happen to you. It doesn't have to happen at all in any areas of your life. There are specific strategies and ways of processing your world and your life that will allow you to get out of the victim habit. Being a victim is truly a habit. It is something that you have grown up with, that most of us have grown up with. Most of us grow up with a set of beliefs that we have to fit in. I remember my favorite poem of E. E. Cummings was one little line where he said, "To be nobody but yourself in a world which is doing its best night and day. To make you just like everybody else means to fight the greatest battle there is to fight and never stop fighting." And that's basically what this is. It's an effort to help you to declare your independence. In the Declaration of Independence itself, Thomas Jefferson put it this way: "All experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed." And what this is about, pulling your own strings, is helping you to abolish the forms to which you have become accustomed. There are many ways to be a victim. Some people just operate from weakness all their lives. Some people are victimized by the past or institutions or family. And I'm here to tell you in this tape that pulling your own strings is really an attitude shift. It shifts away from having to be just like everybody else, having to fit in, having to do what you're told, having to listen to other people as the determiners of what your life is going to be, being intimidated by others, being bullied by others, being fearful of what might happen to you if you were to live your life the way you want to. I'm saying to you that you do not have to live that way. Being a victim is a learned habit. It is not your natural way of being. It is just something that you have accepted. And as long as there are people or institutions or organizations that will suffer those evils upon you, and as long as you're willing to accept them and take that kind of abuse, whether it's mental or physical or emotional or any other way that it can be expressed for you, as long as you're willing to accept it and take it and to fit into that role, there will be those out there who will indeed be willing to continue their role of putting you in your place. So, being able to pull your own strings means changing around some expectations that you have for yourself. And that's the very beginning. That's the hardest part for most people. Because most people are victims, not because the world is such a bad place. And because there's so many bad guys out there, it's because people have accepted that role and have a set of expectations about where they fit in this world. And very often they believe that they fit in underneath someone else's thumb, or being dictated to by someone else, or keeping quiet when inside you're bursting to express yourself. That may be a role that you have learned and adopted. And there are other kinds of victim traps as well. You may be a very assertive, aggressive, outgoing person and still be victimized by a lot of the beliefs that you have. Your emphasis on making the place where you work perhaps more important than your own life. You may have placed loyalty to the institution of your choosing above loyalty to yourself as a human being. You may be making things more important than people. You may be victimizing yourself physiologically by abusing your body with addictive substances, or with the wrong kinds of foods, or not the proper exercise. You may be victimizing yourself through a type A behavior where you're always in a hurry and always facing deadlines and never able to enjoy your life. There's an old saying that I've always loved, that so that nobody on their deathbed ever wishes that they had spent more time at the office. You know, like, oh, if I'd only spent 15 hours a day instead of 14, I could die happily. If I'd only made a little bit more money. That isn't what it's about. People wish always, as they get to the end of their life, that they'd spent more time with the people they love, that they arranged the priorities of their life, so that they could live the kind of life that they want to. And I'm here to say that you can. What I've done on victim expectations, what kinds of expectations do victims have? Well, let me look at just a few of the major categories and the most important ones. The first is in your physical capacities and capabilities. What kind of expectations do you have about yourself physically? The kind of human being that you are, the kind of body that you have, and that you've shown up in? Do you believe that it's limited? Do you believe that it has to be sickly? Do you believe that you don't have the capacity to heal it, to make it well? Do you believe that other people are stronger and can do things that you can't do? The notion of your physical body and what you expect of it is something that you can really drastically change around. It was only in my life when I really knew that I could get myself to maximum health, super health if you will, and I did that many, many years ago. Changed around the expectations that I had to live out a life of a flabby lifestyle. And since October the 7th of 1976, I have run a minimum of 8 miles every day, and I've never missed a day. And that is a lot of years and a lot of days into the 1990s without missing a day. And it's only because I have an expectation that that's something that I can do. It's nothing, a compulsive behavior. It is just a way of being. It's no more compulsive than brushing my teeth every day, something that I do as a way of life. I changed around a whole lot of expectations about my own body and how healthy it can be. I've changed your own expectations about what I have to put into my body. And therefore, things like alcohol and drugs and even caffeine and salt and all of the kinds of things that we put into our body indiscriminately and poison ourselves with are no longer choices that I made. Not because I've got such great discipline and some kind of a super being. Not at all. It's because I've changed my expectations around of what my body can do. And once you get yourself aligned in a higher consciousness way about who you are and what you can do, your body just takes over. That is, your body fulfills its own perfect destiny. It is a temple that houses your soul and houses your mind. And keeping that body in maximum shape is something that any of us can do, but you've got to change around your expectations and not be a victim of it. There's also the whole notion of your mental capacities. So many people believe that they're just average, that they're only capable of doing mediocre kinds of things, that they're C students, if you will, that they fit in the middle somewhere. I believe there's a genius residing in you, and that genius is waiting to awaken. And the awakening process is really, once again, changing around your expectations, shifting your consciousness from a belief that you are average, whether you're mediocre, or that you can only accomplish a certain number of things, to shifting it to, I am a creative genius, I am here on this planet for a reason. This whole universe is part of a perfection, a perfect system. There's an intelligence to the whole system. I believe the entire universe is part of a perfect intelligence that is making the whole thing work, invisible though it may be. And you are part of that. There's no accident there, and you're here for a reason. And when you get your life onto purpose, you will find that your mental capacities begin to grow enormously. When you believe and expect that you are capable of handling anything, and a mental capacity when you know that in your heart and in your soul, then you no longer continue to think like a victim. Your emotional capacities, this is something that people victimize themselves with over and over and over again every single day. Again, notice the emphasis. People victimize themselves with, other people will only victimize you if you allow them to. And I'll speak more about that later. But your emotional capacities, I believe that you choose your own feelings. Your feelings come from your thoughts. And if you can learn how to control your thoughts and understand that your thinking is what creates emotions in you, then you can choose the emotions you have. You don't have to be upset. You don't have to be afraid. You don't have to be anxious. You don't have to be fearful in given situations. It may be the way that you normally would react, and maybe you'll continue to react that way. But it's still a choice. Your emotional reactions are choices. And when you know that, Then you'll be able to catch yourself when you find yourself immobilized or out of control or being pushed around or victimized by your own emotional reactions.